Hey everybody, teachable time. One of the most difficult plays to handle are rundowns. And we don't talk about them a lot, and eventually we'll get to it, but I want to talk about the aftermath of a rundown in this particular play in a spring training game in Arizona. So what we have here are runners on first and second. Nothing really matters besides that. And we have a runner picked off at second base, and what results are two runners ending up at second. So we need to know the rules. So in this case, who legally owns the base? Now remember, this ball was not put in play. It is first and second, and it's a pickoff. So R2, if they were both on the base at the same time, would be safe, and R1, if tagged while both are on the base at the same time, would be out. It's very important as an umpire that we say very specifically, I'm going to just make up numbers here. 31, you're safe. 22, you're out. You want to communicate with these players because they don't know the rules, especially when two players end up on a base. So what happens here is we have the runner tagged from second, Maybin, tagged while he's on the base, so he's safe. And then the other runner, the R1, is tagged Marisnick while Maybin is off the base, so theoretically he would be safe. It's very important to try to take a step back from these plays and break them down in your mind as they happen. These are not ones where we want to delay our calls and wait 3 or 4 seconds. This is one where as soon as Maybin is tagged, we want to say, Maybin, you're safe. If you know the names, even better. You don't want to coach. You don't want to say, Maybin, stay where you are. You want to tell them by using rulebook terminology and informing them as simply as you can. So in this case, Maybin, you're safe. Marisnick, you're safe. Now what happens? Well, if we're on autopilot, we're probably doing the same thing. You know, it's a little tricky in the moment. Was he off the base by a foot? Was he on the base? But if we're too close to this play, we can't get a great look at it. So let's just pretend for a second that this play continued. What would happen is, if he runs to third base and he stays there, we're going to let him have third base. If he runs to the dugout or runs in a direction that he's no longer considered running the bases, I think we're going to get him for abandonment. And we've talked about abandonment a lot. If the runner that was on second thinks he's out and he's been ruled safe and then runs across the pitcher's mound and then runs to third base, we're not letting him do that. I mean, you know, there is if he takes a couple of steps, we want to make sure that he's abandoning his effort to run the bases. If he's going in direction, if the dugout's at third base and he's going in that direction, how do I know if he's running? How do I know he's not trying to trick the defense? Obviously, he's probably not. He thinks he's out. But let's wait to see how the play develops before we make a ruling on that. What Maybin does will tell us what to do. But want to focus again on what happened on this play if both runners end up at the base at the same time. In this situation, R2 would be safe, R1 would be out. But what happens if this was a ground ball with first and second, and for some reason R2 was to go back to first base, or R2 was to go back to second? Well, in that case, R1 would be safe because he is legally entitled to the base. The batter runner puts a ground ball into play. Maybe it's booted by the third baseman. R2 doesn't know there's a runner on first, and R2 goes back. And now R1 ends up on second base. It's hard for me to say. And R2 also ends up on second base. Well, in this scenario, as if things couldn't get more complicated, we have R2 out and R1 safe. Why are these two plays different? Why are they important? Well, they're important because we have to know our pre-pitch reads. We have to know, okay, we've got first and second, this is what happens. We have second, this is what happens. What happens if the ball hits here? Understanding our pre-pitch reads are what makes us better umpires. If we know what could happen, then we're going to be able to handle it when it does. You know who else is great at handling things when they happen? Out West officials. I mean, it's the perfect segue. Out West officials and outwestofficials.com. It's the only place that I get my gear from. Let me tell you, I put my money where my mouth is. Out West Officials is the only place where T-Mac gets his gear from. Period. End of discussion. You should too. They are the best. They are fantastic. They're umpires helping umpires save money. They're doing games. College, high school. You got games. Dax and Randy Upton are gonna go work them, and they're gonna work them at a high level. You want to get the gear and the equipment and the uniforms from the people that are out there with you. Trust me, that's what you want. And you can do it at Out West Officials and OutWestOfficials.com. Well, we thank you for watching this teachable moment. It's a tricky one. Always be prepared for those rundowns and the aftermath. Until next time, happy umpiring, everyone.